Come here, boys. Come here, baby boo. Hi, friends. Something I used to wonder a lot in high school was whether or not my GPA actually mattered. And if it did, how much did it matter? And what years mattered? It turns out that's a pretty nuanced question, so I'll get into it from a couple angles. In California, for example, the UC system calculates a UC GPA based on your sophomore and junior year classes. So, in a sense, your freshman year GPA doesn't matter. But it will determine which AP, IB, or honors classes you qualify for in 10th and 11th grade, so if you plan on challenging yourself and picking up the GPA boosters, it probably benefits you to do pretty well. As for senior year, nearly all college apps go out before you've gotten a GPA for the year. So colleges, in a sense, only see what classes you're signed up for. Your actual numeric GPA isn't as important here, unless maybe you're applying to a private school and they actually ask you to submit your GPA. Another consideration is that the UC system, and I'm sure other school systems have something like this too, offer guaranteed admission to certain universities based on whether you excel in the local context, which is referred to as ELC, at least in California. When I applied in California in 2010, the top 4% of GPA earners in a graduating class would be guaranteed entry into all but the highest tier UCs, regardless of how impressive or unimpressive the extracurriculars or test scores might have been. So, for example, this means a 3.5 student from a rural area in kind of an unsupported high school could be guaranteed admission into great universities if that 3.5 is the best GPA in the graduating class. By contrast, a 4.4 student in an ultra-competitive high school might only be in the top 7% of his or her class. So they're still pretty likely to actually get admittance to these schools, but they're not guaranteed despite having a GPA nearly a full grade point higher. I would recommend you do a little digging into whether the schools you're applying to have programs like this one. I like to think of hard numbers as being part of a litmus test. So for a school like, say, Stanford University, an incredible number of applicants are boasting 4.0 plus GPAs and 2,400 flat SAT scores. So to fall too far below that cut almost always filters you out immediately. Even if your essays are awesome and your extracurriculars would make Gandhi second guess his life choices. If you're aiming for the Ivy Leagues, it's going to be a tall order if you're applying with a GPA too far below the average acceptance. There are exceptions, of course, like recruited athletes and, prodigious Nobel laureate types, but this is a rule of thumb. For really top tier schools, your chances are better with astronomical numbers but so-so extracurriculars as opposed to below the cut numbers with just Gandhi level extracurriculars. I've read some opinions lately that this is actually maybe changing a little bit. Schools are trying to recruit more well-rounded students, so if that is the case, if you feel that that might be happening, then that's really worth considering. But you know what? This isn't my prescription. In fact, I think extracurriculars have a way bigger life payout than your numbers. I can't prescribe you sacrificing your childhood for promises of a better future. I know multi-millionaire VPs and C-levels who went to state schools nobody's ever heard of. And I know a couple of those who went to Stanford as well. All that though is kind of a subject for another video. That'll be coming soon. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, keep grinding, yeah, boo.